Hello, everybody, and welcome to 10 at 10 with Rise Woman Wellness. Today, it's just going to be me. It's one of those weeks where Allison and I both were like, we've talked a couple of times this week about work things, and it's like, wait, what day is it? What's the date today? I'm not sure if any of you are out there, but that's kind of that 2 weeks between Christmas and New Year's, and then those of us who have kids in school still have this one extra week where everything just kind of is like, we don't know what day it is, don't know what time of day it is. Anyway, it is Friday and it is 10 o'clock, which is why we have our 10 at 10 this morning. And this morning, what I want to speak into is just a little bit of a encouraging concept for you for stepping into 2020. Freedom. We're mainly going to talk about the spiritual health pillar this morning. So freedom, I am sure every single one of us enter this new year, not just this new year, this new decade, with the desire to live in freedom, to live our lives in freedom, to feel free, to not feel burdened down, to not feel weighted down, to not have that constant heavy load and feeling forced and controlled by our lives, by our circumstances, but just fully live in freedom. For some of us, it might be financial freedom. For some of us, it might be emotional freedom. The list goes on and on and on about the different ways that we are longing for freedom in our lives. But the longing is there, and every single person was created with this desire to be free. It's part of our survival. It's part of our DNA. So what does it mean to be free? And what is it that we could put in place in our lives to enter 2020 and live in a place of freedom? Now, the first thing that I want you to ask yourself is, what is freedom? Because if you ask a lot of people in the world what freedom is, it means, especially if you ask a teenager or a toddler, what is freedom? It would mean to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want it, and to have as much of whatever I want when I want it. That's freedom, right? Like if I say to my 4-year-old, here's a bowl of Lindor chocolates. You can have however you want, however much you want, whenever you want it. That is freedom. Okay? If I say to my teenager, okay, it's the last week of vacation before school goes back, you can go out every night this week until whatever time you want. He would be like, that's freedom. Yeah, that is freedom. That is freedom that will not give life. That is freedom without healthy boundaries. Now, I'm going to explain that a little bit in a few seconds. Let's just think about those two very silly examples. If my toddler has the ability to eat however much chocolate she wants, she has freedom. But she's going to suffer consequences that is going to be detrimental to her enjoying the freedom, having life-giving experiences within the parameters of what this freedom looks like. The same for my teenager. If he is allowed to go out every night this week until whatever time he wants, and he takes full advantage of that and goes like, is he going to have a great week? Is he going to wake up in the mornings feeling great? Is he going to go back to school next week feeling ready for this new term? And no, he's going to feel terrible. He's probably going to get into trouble too, because if we do things that gives us freedom, what we think is freedom, but it's not God's freedom, it's not life-giving freedom, then we are actually walking away from freedom that will actually give us life and life abundantly. So when I'm talking about freedom moving forward in 2020, I'm talking about freedom within boundaries. Now, everybody that believes in something is, no matter what religion or faith, whatever, anybody that believes in something that doesn't necessarily have a name for the something that they believe in, like somebody that would say, I believe in Jesus Christ, or somebody that will say, I believe in Buddha, or whatever it is. A lot of people just believe in that which is greater, which is a phrase that we hear all the time. Now, that which is greater. Let's just even look at that. Let's say that you don't know what you believe in. You don't know if you believe in Jesus or in God or in Buddha or in just whatever, whatever. Like, it really doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you believe in, it is something that is greater than you, right? Okay, so do you think that you could acknowledge with that concept that there is also then a greater plan, greater thoughts, greater ideas about you and about your life than what you could access on your own? Right? Okay, so let's just think about that. So I believe in something that is greater. I believe personally in God. So I believe that God has great plans for me and great plans for my life and for my family and for my purpose and why I'm born and all of that. And Rise Women Wellness, that's something that we believe. That's where we base our spiritual health pillar on. We believe that God has a purpose for us and that He thinks great things about us. Okay. So now, how do I take that and find my freedom within that? Well, I have good news for you. There is only freedom within that. Because the freedom that comes from God, the freedom that comes from a greater plan that you or I could ever access in our own minds, that freedom is a life-giving freedom. So is that freedom the same as I would give my teen when I say, this week you can come in whenever you want, you can go wherever you want, and there's no curfews. You can just go and have full freedom this week. Does it give that kind of a freedom? No, there will be boundaries. Now, for my 4-year-old, if I say to her, here's the bowl of candy, here's the bowl of chocolate, cotton candy, eat as much of it as you want, whenever you want it, she thinks, woo, freedom. But I know that that is not life-giving freedom. But the plan that God has for our lives, if He says, here's freedom, does not look like that because that's not good for her. Just like that's not good for my teen to say, you can go out whenever you want. This is all the freedom you want. We think freedom means free for all. Freedom means I get to choose whatever I want that's going to make me happy. But let's look at an addict. You can ask anybody who struggles with addiction or has struggled with addiction in the past. They were free. And they would say to you that they were everything but free. They experienced everything in their lives but freedom. And why is that? That is because when we have full freedom, when that addict says, I could drink whatever I want, however much I want, that makes me happy. So if I want to have 10 drinks right now, I'm going to have 10 drinks right now. That's freedom, right? No, it's not. Because that becomes that burden, that weight that is going to hold this person down, that's going to start determining the person's decisions. That is not life-giving. That is not good. So for 2020, what I wish and what Allison and I from Rise Women Wellness wish for every single one of you is that you are able to walk your true life-giving freedom this year. Not the freedom that makes you feel happy in the moment. Not the freedom that makes you feel like you have access to the world and you can do whatever you want because that is the right that you have as a human being and that's going to be the ultimate thing that's going to give you the freedom you want in life. No, not that. The true freedom. The freedom that when you wake up in the morning, you truly feel free. You don't have that care holds you down. Maybe there's thoughts of anxiety. Maybe there's depression that creeps in. Maybe there's practical things. Maybe there is struggles within relationships, struggles within your marriage, struggles within your parenting that weighs you down. But even in the midst of those things, you can experience freedom when it is life-giving freedom, not free for all freedom. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you, but this morning when I was thinking about this principle and this concept and just how do we do that and what does that look like, I felt such like a depth in the freedom that comes just with understanding this principle. So now your question might be, okay, how do I get that? How do I get that freedom in my life that is going to make me wake up every morning of 2020 and feel free, feel empowered, feel that I can do anything, but I want to do the right thing. That is freedom, right? That is the freedom that every addict longs for. And we are all addicts in some way, right? So how do we do that? Well, it's simple. If you look at a deck of cards, just imagine, I should have gotten a prop. let's just imagine this is a deck of cards. Just imagine a deck of your cards, because I can't even mind that right now. A deck of cards, and you have all your heart's desires in there. Every card you can pull out, and it's a heart desire. The one might be the desire to move into a home this year. Maybe it's a desire to graduate in some new education that you want to do this year. Maybe it's the desire to get married this year. Maybe it's the desire to get fit, to get healthy. Maybe it's the desire to break an unhealthy habit, maybe an addiction. Maybe you drink more than what you know you should. Maybe that's a desire that you want to be able to get rid of. You want that out of your life. Maybe it is a materialistic thing. Maybe it's that this year you want to buy a bigger home, or you want to buy your dream car. Those are all great things to have. None of those things are wrong or bad. Those are things that your heart desires. But if we desire things outside of the freedom that comes from God, which is greater than we can ever imagine, the freedom that looks different and the desires that look different than the ones we can imagine, then we don't truly get freedom. Because then we get held down and we are held captive by this concept of what freedom is, but ultimately doesn't give us freedom. So if this is confusing, go back to the beginning of this 10 at 10, and then hopefully that will make more sense. So what we do is we take our greatest desires of what we want in this year, put it at the top of our deck, but always under the top card. The top card always trumps our deck. And the top card is God's plans for our lives. So whether that is, let's use an example. I was talking to a dear friend yesterday. Her greatest desire for this year is to buy a home. They've been renting for a few years, and she wants to really just buy a beautiful home or build a home. So that is at her top thing. And in her mind, she feels that building a home is going to give her freedom this year. It's going to give her financial freedom and freedom to do the things that she wants to do within her home, which she can't do in a rental home. So that's her desire for freedom, would be buying a home this year. Now that's all great. Have it at the top of your deck, but don't let it go over your trump card. Your trump card needs to stay at the top. And that's the one that says, okay, God, this is my desire for my life. I feel like this is going to give me freedom, but I know that I am yet a little speck on this massive big planet called Earth. And this little planet Earth is just a little speck in the greater cosmic world that you have created that is beyond my understanding or comprehension. So therefore, my greatest desires for freedom, my greatest practical steps that I want to take to get freedom, I'm going to still put it right under your trump card, which says, if your plans are bigger than mine, I also want to acknowledge that maybe the house that I want to buy is actually not the thing that's going to give me freedom. So it doesn't mean I'm not going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue it full on. But my life deck is always going to be number one, submitting all my thoughts, all my desires, all my plans for the freedom that I want to have in my life under the ultimate card of Trump, which is my God's way of life, and submitting all of that. And then we can watch our world unfold. You can watch doors close and you can go, well, that's obviously not God's plan. No, it's not. If you pursue something in your life and a door closes, you can rest in the knowing that my top card is my trump card. And clearly that card and the card that's underneath it that I thought was the one that was going to give me freedom in this life. So I hope that makes sense. I am 4 minutes over 10, so I do apologize, but it was important. So I hope this meant something to you. If it did, join us again next week for our 10 at 10, because this is what 10 at 10 is about. It's little practical tools that's going to help you live your ultimate life. And if you have any more questions about this, please comment in the comments when we've posted this on our Facebook page. We would love to engage in more conversations like this. So yeah, have a great 2020. We trust that it's going to be an incredible year for each and every single one of you. We'll see you next week, Friday morning at 10 for our 10 at 10.